A Washington Township business broke ground today on its new site in Miamisburg.
Welcome to today's second edition of CNE's live virtual technology showcase. Today's theme will be cost savings in the automotive sector, but I wanted to let everybody know the products that we'll be talking about today are applicable to anyone, regardless of what industry you're in. We've got a great lineup today. We will be breaking today down into 4 chapters. And after each chapter, I'm going to stop to see if we have any questions that are pertinent to that chapter. So if you notice, you have a Q&A button on your screen. If you click that, you'll be able to open up a chat window, and there, type your questions. We will be stopping to announce your questions and letting the correct person answer. We welcome everybody. We're excited to have you here. So without further ado, we're going to begin with the Siemens Auto Group, and Troy Neva will be presenting. So welcome, Troy.
Thank you, Donnie. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for your time, and thank you for the invite to CNE collectively. I'll give a brief overview, and then you'll see some further information from some of my team here that we all work together in the automotive group. So first of all, I am the sales manager for the Siemens Automotive vertical, based out of Detroit. However, we are responsible for accounts globally. The vertical model that you see here, this is a good example of the automotive group specifically, but if you're not an automotive type customer, we have multiple different automotive type vertical models as well: aerospace, food and beverage, tire, those kind of things. So there's applicable vertical models for all types of different industries, and we all work very, very closely with our partners like CNE. The verticals are responsible directly to 2 points. They're responsible to the CEO of the United States, which is Raj Batra, and we're also responsible to the board as Siemens located in Germany. So again, we work very closely with all of our teams, including, you'll hear from, for example, Steve a little bit later on. So we work closely with our sales teams, our local sales teams. And again, predominantly our go-to-market strategy is through our partners like CNE. So here you'll see we're broken down into 3 different categories, essentially our application engineering specialists, project management specialists, and then we also do complete solutions teams. So we partner up with, when we identify an opportunity with CNE, for example, we can actually help a specific component or a specific application, and we can actually work on the entire solution. So The automotive vertical offers an expertise. Really, that's what we're after, right? So project books and network type applications, things like that, and anything that is really needed to help you and to help C&E and to help our partners be successful. So really all we want to do is support our partners in building the confidence and the competence to use Siemens technology. So here you'll see, Steve, you switch the slides for me, thank you. This is a list of some of the accounts that we're working with today. If you don't see your account name on here, don't be concerned. These are the ones that we have within the recent past, we've engaged in a project or a solution at some level. So we continue to work with our partners. If there's an opportunity with your applications or your sites or anything like that, we work closely with our partners at C&E to help them and to help you be successful. So that's all I have with that. And Steve, I think you're up next.
Very good. Thanks, Troy. So my name is Steve McKillop. I'm part of the automotive team. And so when we were talking about putting together this presentation to everyone, one of the compelling reasons is why would a customer, if they're not currently using Siemens, want to use Siemens? So basically, it's a very short question with a potentially very long answer, because there's all kinds of different compelling reasons why you may want to change. But some of the things I wanted to list out here are certain things that are somewhat unique to Siemens, right? So we are the largest automation product manufacturer in the world. We're also the largest in the automotive sector. We have a very large global footprint. So more and more business is being done globally. So you have confidence that if you have a machine, let's say that you're shipping overseas, or a machine coming in from overseas, we can help coordinate support. One of the other key features is that we build all of our own core products. So why is that important? Well, we do a very good job at managing our obsolescence. We're not brand labeling products and then we don't have control over that. Basically, we have free technical support during normal business hours. We have 24/7 support at a very nominal cost. Our HMI PLC programming software is fully integrated. We have automatic system diagnostics generation for both our PLC and our HMIs. We have a cost-effective and space-saving safety PLC platform, as well as a large portfolio of IP65, which can reduce the panel size or maybe reduce your panels altogether. And then we have a large portfolio of different network structures, including Ethernet IP, so that can help if you're transitioning. We're also the largest industrial software company in the world. Teamcenter is almost ubiquitous in the industry for the backbone of software. Basically, our software is designed to work seamlessly with our hardware. And why is that important? Well, because of Industry 4.0, Industrial Internet of Things. These are buzzwords. These are things that are taking hold right now. The fact that we produce both the software and the hardware is very important to seamlessly connect your plant floor to the cloud. So we have solutions and deliverables that are available right now and have been working for years, and building a digital twin of the product, the machine, the process. We can actually digitalize your entire plant and animate it and simulate it. If you have a manual process, we can actually build a digital twin of the manual process as well. We have offerings in the area of artificial intelligence, edge computing, augmented reality, virtual commissioning with software and hardware in the loop. We have Automation Designer, which is basically a tool that helps generate your PLC and HMI code while you're doing the mechanical design. And then we have MindSphere, which is our cloud-based platform that brings it all together. It's your platform for data analytics, application execution, machine learning, and so forth. And then we also have some point solutions, right? And I've just listed a handful of them here. Additive manufacturing is gaining a lot of acceptance and accelerating. Basically, if you're using AGVs, we have a complete solution, both hardware, software, and navigation for that. Crane controls, e-car, tire manufacturing, RTLS. We also have a financial arm, so we can do some very creative things with leasing equipment to kind of turn your CapEx into OpEx. We have interlogistics. So we're just touching on a handful of these things. I know I went through those very quickly, but if any one of those things are of interest to you and you want to learn more, please reach out to your C&E rep, and we can do a little bit deeper dive into that. So those are the reasons. So if one of those compelling reasons is sufficient enough to make you take a look and really do a more of a deep dive into maybe converting over to Siemens, that's why. Okay, now how do we do it? Well, we have a long history of actually walking customers through the conversion process from their incumbent supplier. So this is something that we don't just try to get the specification and then walk away from it. We have a team that Troy had talked about of application engineers and also program managers that will actually walk you through the process. So it's not something that's willy-nilly. This is something we've been doing and refining, and we continue to change over the year. So basically, we start with inspection, we obtain all the information, and then we develop the hardware design, the architecture of it, and we look for improvements. Then we migrate the control code. And again, we don't want to just, why would you just change a code from one vendor to another without optimizing it? And then we add advanced diagnostics to try to reduce the downtime or maybe add some predictive maintenance. Then we test the application virtually with some of our simulation tools. We update all the documentation, we install it on site, start up, and then probably the most important thing is training, on-site training for the end user, for the OEM, up to and including putting embedded engineers on the floor to make sure that the lines launch efficiently. So bottom line is the point of this is that we know how to do this. We've been doing it for years. So if we try to take away all the objections of going to a Siemens solution. So one of those solutions I want to focus on real quickly is virtual commissioning, which we've been doing for years. And virtual commissioning really just means using the tools digitally to try to reduce your cost, right? If any of you out there are Six Sigma folks, you probably are familiar with the rule of tens, meaning that catching a problem early can save vast amounts of money as opposed to when it gets further down the cycle. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So if you look at the way that a normal project is taken on today, basically you conceptualize it or you ideation, then you do the mechanical design and construction, then comes the electrical design, then automation comes last, then you do the commissioning on the floor, then you do the commissioning at the plant, and then you run production. Everything is sequential. This is the old way of doing things. What we're trying to achieve now, or what we are achieving in the virtual commissioning world, is trying to parallelize that workflow. So trying to squeeze those things together so that while you're doing the mechanical design, you can also be doing your power calculations, your electrical design, as well as your PLC code and your HMI, your drives and so forth. So you can do that in parallel and then thus shortening that time to market. That's the whole idea behind it. So I wanted to give you just a couple real quick examples. Burrow Tool is a company up here in the Michigan area, and they make equipment for the HVAC industry. So what they had a 3D model of the equipment, and what they did is they decided to use one of our products to do virtual commissioning. And what this product does, it allows you to use your PLC code either software in the loop or hardware in the loop to actually drive your 3D model. A lot of 3D modeling software has simulation, which is a powerful tool, but simulation is really just simulating the actual 3D model. What we're doing in this case is actually running the simulation with the real PLC code, developing the diagnostics, looking for interferences. And so this customer borrowed tool on their first project, the first one, including their learning curve, basically reduced the time to build this machine by their estimation, 4 to 6 weeks. It also has some other important features that they didn't encounter or didn't anticipate, which was that when customers make changes, they can simulate the changes, show it to the customer before they implement it. And then also they can train their operators in the virtual world instead of on the real equipment. And basically it's the exact same PLC code, the exact same HMI screens. So the second example that I've got is a company in Germany called SN, and basically they use the same tool. They use the MXD, one of our tools, to basically build a digital twin of their equipment. And the benefit from this, what we had talked about before, was that they basically reduced their on-the-floor commissioning time by 50%. Now, what's interesting in this example is the end user is the one that dictated to the machine builder that they will use the digital twin. This is a requirement going forward. So basically, those are just a couple real quick examples of how bringing the software and the hardware together and doing things in the virtual world as opposed to in the real hardware world can bring some benefit. So with that, I'll turn it over to Steve Wilcox.
Donnie, you're muted.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Donnie, that's you. We're going to go ahead and throw to Steve Wilcox here.
All righty. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Steve Wilcox. I'm industrial sales for Siemens, cover central Indiana down through central Kentucky. And I just brought up a couple little things to let you think about. Steve McKillop talked a little bit about RTLS, real-time locating systems. We've got kind of an interesting way to apply those products. There are lots of challenges today with COVID-19 and social distancing. How we maintain those. If somebody becomes infected, what happens? How do we clean? How do we do? How do we clean the production lines? How do we do all those things? Real-time locating systems. It's a very easy concept. We've got a transponder that talks to our locating beacons, and it keeps track of where people are in the plant. The thing's pretty small. It's about the size of a credit card. It's about 1/2 inch thick. They wear it. It's got a little display on it that tells them that everything's okay. If they get too close to people, it'll change the signal, and the sign on the front will say you're too close, and it'll vibrate, let them know that they're too close to people. And there's a visualization part of that shows people where you can watch where people are going and what they're doing in the plant. You can track hotspots. Sorry about that. You can track hotspots where people gather. And if you have a hotspot, you know that that's an area you're going to need to clean if somebody becomes infected. The other thing is, boy, that's touchy mouse. So we track people through the plant. We're tracking the transponders. There's really no identification on that. It's just a transponder number running through the facility, and you can see where the person has been on their shift. And so if that person becomes infected, you know that you just need to clean this machine, this area over here, maybe this workstation, this area over here, because that's where they've been. It also will let you know who they've been in touch with, for how long, and things like that. This is just a simple way to talk about some of the capabilities of RTLS. This is just one application. You can use it for a lot of different things. You can track your warehouse materials, where your fork trucks are moving in the plant. Say you've got facilities that have skids with parts on it, and you've got to get them from point A to point B. That display can tell you what's on that skid. It can say where it needs to go, and you can track it as it goes through the plant. At that point, you can determine whether or not that's an effective way to move through the plant. Maybe there's a shorter direction. And this all comes with the digitalization and integrating this into a digital system. So another way to maybe save you some money is to look at your mechanical data. The way we can do that is with our CMS condition monitoring system, and we're using vibration sensors on your mechanical equipment, and we bring it into the little process. Those could be daisy chained together, and then you can have just basic, it's good or it's bad types of signals. You can get alarming if something is going bad, and we can notify people. It's connected up to a PLC, so we can go out to pagers or cell phones, emails, that kind of thing. The SM1281 is a self-contained monitoring system. You can hook up to 4 sensors to that one module, and it's got the software built in and everything you need to do the analyzing. You can kind of see on the screen here some of the analyzing that's being done with the internal software. And there's a web server on there. All you need is a web browser to get into that. You can have this monitoring system separate from your plant network. You can have it sitting on its own network so that you're not interfering with other connections. Steve talked about cloud systems and edge computing and what have you. These products work right into those technologies. Another product we have is Analyze My Drive, where we can take drive information that's sitting in that drive that's been there forever, and it looks at the motor parameters and the feedback it's getting to to be able to analyze what the load's doing, what the drive's doing, the condition of the motor, the condition of the load, and you can analyze that, take that up into the cloud and monitor that. This technology's been around for a while, but we're just now getting to the point where it makes it easier to integrate that into edge technologies and get that data up to the cloud. So talking about all that, there's nobody in the world that has end-to-end product like Siemens, from the individual components all the way up to where we're monitoring and collecting the data, and we do condition monitoring, and then we can analyze and predict, and then we can take all that data into the cloud, and from there, using artificial intelligence, we can feed back all that information that we're gathering back into the system and optimize the production process and optimize your systems and just have a continuous loop of continuous improvement. Nobody in the world has as complete a package from components to the cloud than Siemens. And that's really the story today. We do it better than anybody else. That's all I've got for today.
Thank you, Steve. Wilcox, we appreciate that. That concludes our portion with Siemens today. I want to remind everybody that we went through what was presented today was a very quick overview. We believe in Siemens here at CNE. They're a great partner, state-of-the-art products, software, and we really want you guys to understand the main reason for bringing this team in today to speak about the latest technology, what they're working on, is to really remind you guys that the return on investment is there. It's real. The cost savings are real. We have real scenarios that we would love to share with the group to really just educate our customers on the cost savings that Siemens brings to your facility. So my next guest that I want to bring up is Jay Swank. Jay Swank is our our specialist manager, and Jay is going to take a minute to discuss what CNE can do to provide support to our customers should you choose to go with Siemens. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Donnie. As you mentioned, I'm the technical resources manager here for CNE Advanced Technologies, and I'd like to reiterate or perhaps iterate that a lot of the resources that you heard in the Siemens presentations for their application notes and all of that sort of ahead of the process sales assistance is really in addition to what CNE can offer ourselves. CNE has 13 technical specialists that I would put up against any in the nation. And we also have 3 product developers that, while their focus tends to be a little more on the sale and pre-sale, I would also say they are some of the most technical people that I have ever come across in the industry. Our scope is very diverse, and that comes with a good advantage if you're looking for doing things really anywhere across our line card. But in addition to, we have tremendous experience in things that we don't necessarily represent. And the advantage there is if you're moving from someone else's automation platform, motion platform, maybe robotics or networking, etc., we have good experience in making those migrations, and we can help make comparisons with advantages and maybe even some small disadvantages and help navigate where you will get the best bang for the buck. Really, what we're interested in is adding value to you and making sure that your projects or any migration that you would take place in is going to be a success. That starts in the pre-sale with product selection, but also would follow on through with startup assistance on the back end to make sure that everyone's properly trained and ready to take on that project. I don't really have a whole lot more to add about that, but again, we are an extension of the resources that you've heard about today, And I would encourage you to always start with the sales rep. They will tag anyone in the technical group here at C&E in very quickly, and we can help tap on the right resources within Siemens if you're worried about who is the right person to talk to. I think that's all I have to add to you, Donnie.
Thank you, Jay. And again, don't be afraid to, if you need support with something, don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. We've got these specialists that work for and underneath Jay. We have them located all around the tri-state area. We encourage you to reach out to your TC to get a better understanding of what they can do. We can do phone support, we can do digital support. There's a lot of ways that we can help get you in the right direction, and we're poised and ready to do that. And man, our specialists, they jump on the chance to come out and help our customers. They really do. It's a great group. Continuing with the theme of cost savings in your facility, I'd like to introduce Dana Poling. If you've never met Dana or worked around Dana, Dana is our robotics specialist. He's got some quick information put together to help you guys understand what we can do in the mobile industrial robot world. Very excited about what Dana has been doing. I don't know if you've seen this or if it's posted, but C&E just positioned itself at the top, if not the top, mirror distributor. And we're very excited about that. We're excited what we can offer in terms of robotics. Excited what Dana has to share. And with that, we welcome Dana Poling.
Hey, thanks, Donnie. Hopefully you guys are seeing this screen all right. It looks like it is on my end. And if you can see me, I've got a couple of our MotoMan demo units here, but today we want to focus more on our mobile robotics product line. So you've most likely heard about autonomous mobile robots at this point, and I just kind of want to focus a little more on why you're hearing so much about those and kind of some of the cost savings info that goes with that. Basically, anybody that's making something, including all you folks in the automotive world, you're making parts and somehow you've got to move them through your process and get them to the dock door to get them shipped on to the next location. And that process is one of the least valuable or value-added processes probably in your facility. And this is kind of a look at how that's done today. So you see things like manned forklifts and conveyors and the traditional AGV systems and people. And then in this table, I've just put together some of the drawbacks for each of those systems. You start looking at the safety and the cost and reliability of some of these systems. And then anything that involves people, you know, one of the things that's really drove this market in the last year is just the fact that nobody can find folks to do this. At the end here, we'll talk about what the ROI looks like for some of these systems, but I've had a whole lot of customers over the last 6 or 8 months tell me that they're not as concerned about ROI. They just flat out can't find people to do this work. And that's really driving this market. And then towards the end there, we talk about some of the flexibility and infrastructure changes that's required with things like the conveyor systems and AGVs. So all of these shortcomings are really driving us towards AMRs. The company that we represent is MIR, and it stands for Mobile Industrial Robots, and their tagline is a better way. So that's kind of what we're after here, is a better way to handle those internal logistics. And these are the 5 robots that they have today. This is a fairly young company. It's really a fairly young market space overall, the AMRs, and they've basically released a new robot each year since their inception. So the one that we just released is the MIR 250. You see in the bottom down there, and the numbers in their model names here represent the payload capacity for each robot in kilograms. So the MIR 100, you can put 100 kilograms directly on top of that guy, 220 pounds. Up to the MIR 1000, which you can load with 2,200 pounds directly on it. And we're not going to go really in depth at all today about how these things work, but I just want to give you some idea of a little bit of how they work. What we're talking about here is the way they navigate. So the image you see on the bottom right is the software that resides on a web server on the robot. And when you power this guy up, you drive it around with that software, a joystick in the software, and it creates this map with laser data information, the LiDAR slam you see over there. So there's 2 different laser scanners on the robot that cover the robot 360 degrees. And as you drive it around, it starts mapping out its environment, and then it knows where it is. The image in the upper left shows the different scanning zones. So these are not only used for navigation, but they're also used for safety. These are safety rated laser scanners. And you have different zones that the robot cares about based on how fast it's going. So the faster it drives, the further out it looks to make sure that it can avoid anything in its way. Just a little bit more on that sensor system. So those two laser scanners sit in a plane roughly 8 inches off the ground. In addition to that, the MiR robots have 3D cameras on the front, so they can see objects up to 1.7, 1.8 meters in height, depending on the robot model. And then they also have some proximity sensors on the corners of the robot, so they can find really low profile obstacles as they're driving around. And these are really the 4 most common applications that we're seeing right now. There's certainly more than this, but these 4 would make up the majority of what we're doing. And I kind of refer to these robots as the small robots and the big robots. So the 2 on the left are the smaller footprint, so they're roughly 2 by 3 feet in size. And then the 2 on the right, the 500 and the 1000, are roughly 3 by 4. And you can kind of see relative to what a normal 40 by 48 inch pallet looks like on top of that guy. But the application in the upper left is using the MiR hook. And it's really nice in that it can let you use existing carts that you might have in your facility with very little modification to it. So the hook needs maybe a 1 inch square bar or some sort of tube on the front of it to grab a hold of. But other than that, you can probably use existing carts that you have. The application in the bottom left is what we refer to as a shelf carrier. So there the robot has a add-on module on top of it with a couple of things that are kind of like shop pins. And it will dock to a cart with 4 legs like that, and then pin to that cart and drag it around. And that gives you some pretty nice maneuverability and also increases your payload capacity. The upper right is probably the most common application for the MiR 500 and the MiR 1000, the 2 big robots. It's shown there with its pallet lift on it. So that lift extends about 60 millimeters, and the way that works is you drive into pallet racks or any sort of racking system at that height, and then it lifts the pallet off of the rack and drives away with it. And then the bottom right is powered roller conveyors. That roller conveyor is actually made by a company that we also represent called ROEC, and their business is just making top modules for MiR robots. And powered rollers kind of allow you to drive up to an existing conveyor system and then transfer that product on with rollers instead of a lift. And those are really the 4 most common applications that we're seeing. And again, it's replacing conveyor systems, traditional AGVs, people pushing carts around, those sorts of things that we talked about there in that first slide. And then here's the real bang for the buck. Why would I do this? Even if you can find labor to do it, this is probably still a better way to handle it. We talk about some of the factors that contribute to the ROI. Obviously, the labor cost reduction if you're looking at head count, safety for sure, and then the cost of continually hiring and training workers. Lots of folks now have permanent temporary employment companies working for them, and it's just a continuous stream of new people coming in and being trained every week, and that is certainly not free or easy. One thing to note about MiR robots, especially relative to some of our competition, they are a one-time cost. You purchase this robot up front and you own it to do with it as you please. A lot of the competitors in this space require cloud connectivity. They have ongoing software maintenance agreements, so it's a continuous mandatory cost, and that's not the case with MiR. We do offer leasing and even robot as a service agreements if you'd prefer to do something that's not so upfront capital intensive, but you can certainly, we prefer actually that you take ownership of this thing. We want you to be able to be successful with this, so we want to show you how to make it work and have it as your system. So the example we have here is in terms of cost savings. I use my custom currency here, the shift person year. And the numbers you're seeing over here with our 5 robot models give you a rough cost of what the robot itself costs. Now, if you have an integrator, we can partner you up with somebody to do the installation cost. That's obviously going to make that number a little higher, but this is the cost of the robot itself. And then, so those guys are roughly the cost of what one person per shift per year would cost you. Somewhere in the middle of probably the 100 and the 1000 is what most folks would use as a fully loaded operator. So our example on the bottom is if you're running a 2-shift operation, you've got one person doing that, you can see over 3 years you've spent 6 shift person years, whatever that cost you. With the MiR robot, you just had that 1 shift person year upfront cost. Very little maintenance on these guys. The batteries last 3 to 5 years. You may have to replace a caster or two, but there's just very little cost as these things are out in production, and that makes the ROI really attractive. So you can see, if you drop to a 1-shift operation, maybe not quite as quick. If you're running around the clock, the ROI is super fast on these things. And I think that's all I've got. There's my contact info. If you want to reach out to me, you certainly can. You also have your local sales reps that Jay and Donnie have referenced, but that's what I've got for the day.
Thank you, Dana. We appreciate you coming on. It looks like we actually don't have any questions, which means we 100% killed our presentation. No questions needed. We're going to buy a bunch of robots and Siemens from C&E. So that's great. We appreciate everyone for going ahead and doing that. We do have some upcoming VTS, more virtual technology showcases that we'll be excited to see you guys attend those. You can check those out at cneadvancedtech.com and go to our events page. They're posted there. That's where we'll be registering, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for everyone that came on today. We apologize for the minor technical difficulties that we had. This is a live event, and we are all sitting somewhere remote in front of our desktop trying to put this together for you guys. We appreciate you showing up. Look forward to seeing you again, and please reach out. Get to know us if you don't know us. We've got a lot of great products, a lot of great people that are all working together to help the customer push on, and especially now to get through this these difficult times that we all may be experiencing. So we look forward to hearing from you guys, and with that, we will see you later. Thank you.